Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime. We're here with my next Boruto Anime episode review. This one's going to be for episode 20, which is called The Boy with the Sharingan, and it's the second episode of this Naruto Gaiden arc. And another really good episode. The adaptation continues to be very well compared to the manga. And just, I think in general, like, it really highlights that, like, this is a pretty interesting story. Obviously it goes some kind of unique places with regards to the whole question of like Sarada questioning who her parents are, and the various kind of points at which they make her really question and how they do that. But that happens a bit later on. Here, the start of the journey, them going with Naruto, and basically the start of this kind of really pretty unique group of Naruto, Sarada, and Chocho going on this journey to meet with Sasuke, who sends a message via Hawk back to the village. Basically, the big issue being that Sasuke has encountered someone else who's an Uchiha, or it seems like is an Uchiha, because they have the Sharingan. And this is a big issue because Sarada and Sasuke should be the only Uchiha members that are left. So it's a big issue. Naruto goes out to deal with this. Sarada follows. It led to this interesting scene of Boruto was about to leave to basically deliver this lunchbox basically to his dad, but Sarada and Chocho, who were just about to sneak out on their mission, basically intercept this and are like, okay, we'll bring it to him. And you had a bit of a standoff between Sarada and Boruto, and it led to a nice moment where Sarada points out the whole idea of, like, you're annoyed with, you know, Naruto for kind of not going back and picking this up, and you're focused just on that. But the importance of this is not just what's inside or anything like that he won't eat. The importance is, like, who made it and why they made it, and, like, the, I suppose, feelings that are put behind just something as simple as making someone a lunchbox like this. And this is ultimately what convinced Boruto to, I suppose, hand it over. But it's such an interesting one because Sarada is clear enough to be able to say that to Boruto with regards to his issues with his father, but kind of can't apply that same logic to herself and the issue that she's dealing with here, of just, like, kind of trying to get across just that, like, what ends up kind of being a theme of this arc, in that, like, it doesn't necessarily matter, like, who, like, if you're biologically kind of related to someone, if they care for you and more or less fill that role as a parent, then it doesn't matter if it's, like, a biological match or anything like that. But I suppose in this case with Sakura, it's kind of trying to point out that look how much she cares about you, and here you are kind of questioning, is she your mom or not, because of all of these issues and so on. Why don't you, why can't you see that, even if maybe there isn't this weird match, why can't you just, like, accept that she does still care for you as a mother would a daughter? So that was an interesting line, and how they, approach that. They haven't obviously brought up the theme, which I'm kind of going with here, but obviously what happens from there is that they do catch up with Naruto, but not before they encounter one of the Uchihas, basically the same character from before, Shin Uchiha, or Shin Uchiha, however you want to pronounce it. And yeah, so the two girls are put up a little bit of a fight, but ultimately someone with a full Sharingan kind of gets the best of them, and Naruto arrives to save them. And we get the big demonstration here of Naruto's, I suppose, power at this stage, and it being the two girls' first time, I suppose, seeing Naruto go full force like this, because this is prior to the movie. So this is a huge moment for them, because they get confirmation of the rumors they've kind of heard about Naruto's powers, that he has a tail beast inside him, and here they see it really up close. We get to see Kurama inside Naruto, and just the idea that Naruto hasn't done a lot of fighting recently, so Kurama hasn't got a chance to really showcase his abilities recently either. But yeah, he very, as Sarada kind of says, efficiently controlled his chakra and pretty much dominated Shin without, I suppose, really damaging him, but immediately we're forcing a retreat here from the leader of this new Uchiha clan, or whatever they're going for. And that, led to obviously the humorous moment of Chocho basically being like, oh, you're a cool older person, "You must be my father," and Naruto being like, "What on earth is going on here?" Um, and I suppose we got some really unique interactions here of just Naruto interacting with some of his friends' kids basically, and the main thing being him being one of the first people to just be really open with Sarada about Sasuke and kind of talk about, like, what was he like? Oh, you probably don't know him. Well, for me, Sasuke is, he was, popular with the girls in school just like me. He was top of the class in terms of ninjutsu just like me. All these things that kind of Naruto wasn't, but kind of maybe later became. And then he gets around to, but he's also like antisocial, arrogant, and rude and stuff like that, which is totally not like me, and that's why he's my rival. And just him being really, really honest about that they're friends, but they still consider each other rivals, really is something where like Sarada just feels so that she can be so open around Naruto and that he's open with her. It's so different than a lot of the other way the other villagers talk to Sarada about her, her family basically. Um, which was an interesting thing that like ultimately with the Boruto movie and this, they basically established that like in a way that like Sarada has this kind of unique connection with Naruto, and then Boruto has this unique connection with Sasuke, and they both kind of have issues with their fathers, which is a kind of unique dynamic to have. Especially where they ultimately go with like each of their goals and what they want to be later on. But we also got him saying a little bit to Chocho as well about how like yeah, your face just looks exactly like Karui's, but your physique is exactly the same as Choji's when he was your age. And then like to Sarada he says, which is a really nice reference to the previous episode where one of the big things for Sarada was like did my dad wear glasses, and so on, that being a big thing, and her questioning like, oh, here's a girl who also wears glasses that Sasuke was next to, is she my real mother because of the glasses connection? And Naruto, just without any prompting, basically just says to her like, oh, Sasuke didn't wear glasses, but your eyes are exactly like his, and then your presence is exactly like your mother's, and that like it feels like you could be really scary if you kind of got angry. That was a really kind of nice thing, and you could tell that kind of hit kind of Sarada hard, that like she's having all these doubts, but that kind of to some extent reassured her that like no, her parents are who she knows her parents as. But yeah, the result is that they eventually get closer to where Sasuke is, and Sarada runs off on her own, basically saying, I need to take a toilet break, and she runs off immediately to go alone. And on the way, she's anticipating meeting her father for so much, and is so excited and happy about this, that she actually awakens her Sharingan, the first stage of her Sharingan, with one Tomo or Tomoi or however you pronounce it, one of the little swirls in the eye, not the full three. She awakens that for the first time here, and that's unique because this is, as far as we're aware, the first time we've seen an Uchiha awaken their Sharingan because of like a happy moment. And obviously we don't know if this is like the full extent of what we're meant to take away from this, in that is it a pure happy moment and it's establishing that Sarada is very different, and that like the Uchiha have kind of been doing things a little bit wrong up to now, that you can actually awaken the Sharingan in all of its forms through positive emotions, that it's not all about negative emotions and loss that unlocks it all the way? Or are they more trying to say that it was unlocked because of like a bad situation that she's in, and this having to be a slightly more positive outcome of that, but it's still perhaps like coming from a place of she's never met him before and now she's meeting him for the first time here, and it could be like she's happy to meet him, but the deep down like, will it be okay type thing. So there's a couple of ways to interpret this, but I think the way we're meant to is that it is kind of unique that she's unlocked it out of like happiness, and that it's not this really tragic moment or anything like that. It is just an honestly happy moment for her. But of course it's Sasuke, so the first little bit of the meeting that we get is him suspecting her of being linked with the whole Shin Uchiha thing. He's on edge because of that, new Uchihas, and then suddenly he sees his daughter's here, who he hasn't seen in a very long time. He of course doesn't know what she looks like now, so of course he'd be suspicious and pulls the sword on her, and you can see she still has the Sharingan activated, which was one of the big telling factors from before. And I suppose he's kind of thinking of his daughter like from when she was younger. There's no way she could have the Sharingan now. That's another factor, and he's just not thinking at all that this could be his daughter. So it was an interesting way to do the cliffhanger. I think ultimately, like, there's not a lot of like, oh, I really believe this cliffhanger is this really dangerous moment for Sarada. I think it's just like, oh, it's not the meeting between Sarada and Sasuke is not this hugely happy moment of just hugs all around. It is much more of a tense moment because of who Sasuke is, and because he's been away so long, he kind of doesn't know what she looks like, and that being a kind of sad thing. And I suppose in a way it kind of, she awoke her Sharingan out of happiness, but now is immediately kind of met with the kind of truth of the situation, and that Sasuke isn't the most open or social character, and it's going to take time for her to really get who he is as a person and who her father actually is. That he is nothing like Naruto as a character in terms of like, she says in this episode she feels so kind of comfortable around Naruto, but it's going to be very different with Sasuke in terms of getting used to it. So very interesting way that they approach doing things here. I do think ultimately the villains of this arc, the Shin Uchiha thing, he's not the greatest villain. I get why they have this as like the thing within this arc of just this kind of questioning, and it ultimately comes down to this big theme of parents and what does it mean to be a parent. Does it matter if you're like biologically parents, or I suppose the different types of like parents you can have. And once they play that role, even if it's not biological, it still is the same thing, and that being the important thing. Kind of a similar theme to like a lot of the characters with like One Piece. Like, it doesn't really matter who your family is. That like if you gain a connection with anyone and you feel like they're a family member, that's just as important in a way. That being like one of the themes of One Piece, and it kind of being like a sort of thing here that we deal with that quite heavily here. But I think that's more or less all I wanted to say about this episode. Definitely next week's episode looks to be the big one, where we get like a lot of interaction with Sasuke and Sarada to see their initial interactions, how it works out, and just see where overall we go with the likes of Shin Uchiha and so on, where Sakura will get involved again. Do we meet Kari? And all these sort of questions about where exactly it will go. Of course, I've read the manga, I know where it's going to go, but I'm interested to see just, do they move certain scenes forward more? Like, how many episodes is this arc actually going to be? But that has been the episode review for this week. So thanks for watching this video, and bye.